Around 14 South Africans are held in the Zimbabwean prison for, breaking the immigration law. Apparently, they entered the country illegally. We are about to watch the interview with a human resource representative from Zimbabwe. Then afterwards, we are gonna get into more details, which explain how South Africa is too lenient on illegal immigrants.
There are from time to time people who are detained in Zimbabwe's prisons, like these 66 that we found on this day, because our Zimbabwean immigration law provides that if an immigration officer suspects that a person, for good reason, has entered the country illegally, they may.
Now, I want you to point out this part here. What she said was that it doesn't have to be a long process. It doesn't have to be a complicated process. If an immigration officer just suspects, if they have suspicions that you might be in the country illegally, then they have the right to arrest you. Now we know that in South Africa, whenever people, approach people who they think that they are in the country illegally, it was always flagged as, being xenophobic. It is always flagged as, how should I put it, harassment, basically. So it means that you're basically harassing people that are in the country. So in Zimbabwe, they don't take that route and they don't think a lot about it. If they as much as think that you are in the country illegally, just the thought, if they think about it, then they have the right to detain you and arrest you.
May arrest them, and then they will require that the prisons detain them in a remanded prison for people waiting for trial. And also,
so that's all it takes, right? That's all it takes in Zimbabwe. If they just think that this one is here illegally, then they don't even talk to you. They don't make it a very long process. They just take you and they arrest you just from thinking that you are an illegal immigrant. So I feel like this is also something that South Africa should take. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's a bit, harsh on people, because what's the criteria of determining if a person is like suspicious or not? Because I still don't understand. People are very different. How do you judge and determine that this person is suspicious? I feel like there needs to be a bit more regulations to that, because this one is a bit too harsh. But at the end of the day, it should be harsh because illegal immigration is a very big issue, and other countries treat it very seriously, unlike what we see happening in our country in South Africa. So in South Africa, it's really not treated as serious because we still don't have security in crossing points. I feel like the government knows where these people are crossing. They know that where the entry points, in short, but still they are not enforcing security. We still have borders that are always unattended. We still have borders that are not even fenced. So at the end of the day, I feel like South Africa is just taking things very light, and they should, look up to countries like Zimbabwe who take their immigration, very, very, very seriously.
so they should detain them for at least 14 days while they are verifying their status. And
Here's also another one. So it means that they, like I said, they don't ask you if you are in the country legally. Also, they have the right to detain you and keep you in prison for 14 days while they check. You understand? For 14 days while they check. It means that they can just put you in prison without proof, and then, go and verify. And after verifying, you've been wrongfully imprisoned. So I feel like Zimbabwe is too harsh, but I feel like it's not only Zimbabwe. A lot of countries treat their immigration seriously. The reason I'm making this video is to highlight how South Africa is too lenient on, illegal immigration compared to other countries. And we are not talking about the country that's far. We're not talking about USA or Mexico or whatever. We are talking about Zimbabwe. That's like our neighboring country. And this is how harsh they are on immigration. They can keep you in prison for 14 days without proof. As long as an immigration officer feels like you are an illegal immigrant, they have the right to put you in prison. So that's power right there. That's definitely taking
it is our
things
hope
serious.
that they are continuing to do so that they can be released or deported while they are investigating. And it's a problem that we continue to have because Zimbabwe has yet to create detention facilities for irregular immigrants that are not prisons, but our Immigration Act for now requires that prisons.
Yes. So also, please note how she just mentioned that they don't have facilities that keep people who are illegal immigrants, meaning that if they suspect you, they'll throw you in prison with the real criminals, people who've committed murder and all of that. They don't keep you in a facility that's like specialized for people who, for immigration in short. They don't have a place where they keep those kinds of people so that when they verify the information and it turns out that they arrested you wrongfully, they can just take you out. And if you are guilty, then they take you to prison. They don't do that. They take you straight to prison while they investigate. That's not what's happening in South Africa. In South Africa, they don't even do that. And if you have money and then you can bribe somebody, then you won't even see the inside of a prison cell or you won't even be harassed. We have seen a lot of content being exposed right now of people who are in the country illegally, and most of them have people that they pay so that they can, not be harassed. So in Zimbabwe, that's not how it works. If they suspect you, they put you in prison. Right now, they are putting people in a maximum prison, maximum security prison. So it means that they treat this immigration, thing as a very big crime. It's not a simple crime and it's not as simple as it's treated in South Africa. Imagine being put in a maximum security prison just because you are being suspected of being an illegal immigrant. And afterwards, they can just take you out of prison like nothing happened.
Must take those particular people.
Yeah.
And we are working with the immigration authorities as well to ensure that this problem is solved once and for all.
Yeah, but with this particular cohort, was there confirmation that they will be released?
This issue is a routine issue. They do get released eventually because prisons doesn't also want them in prisons because they are not held in terms of the criminal law. So they don't stay there forever. It's always a cycle. There will be people because of the nature of irregular migration, I think that Africa has to address. There will be people it happens a lot that they are.
So you hear what it basically means that the 14 South Africans, because right now I heard that the number might be around 14. The 14 South Africans that are in prison will be held at a maximum security prison until it is verified that they are guilty or not. I feel like that's totally unfair because at the end of the day, what happens if a person is not guilty? Let's say that you've been put in prison and the trauma that you go through in prison, who takes the responsibility for it? I feel like a lot of countries just do not care about their people. And, in this regard, it's basically not their people. They basically do not care about people from other countries and they don't take it lightly like we do in South Africa. Because now we have people that are in prison and yet, they are not quite sure that all these people who are in this prison, they are guilty. So I feel like the law needs to be refined, or maybe it's just perfect that we are the ones that need to do things, differently. We know that a lot of countries do not take this lightly, but when it comes to South Africa, it's a lot.
People who cross borders illegally, and they do get released. The prisons authorities also liaise as immigration with the embassies of the various countries. So there are certain countries whose embassies are very proficient about processing the deportation of their migrants. In Malawi, in particular, the Malawi embassy in Zimbabwe does so a lot. It visits prisons and then it makes sure that its nationals that are in prison and detained for immigration are processed and released. So it's a process that works between the prison service, the immigration officials, as well as the countries if they have.
So what I'm getting from this, what this basically means is that there might be even more South Africans that are still being held in that prison, because she mentions that this is a process that's supposed to, be done amongst, the two countries. So meaning that even if, we don't find out about this particular situation, if a person is arrested and we don't find out about them, then it means that there might actually still be a lot more South Africans that are held in these prisons. Because I feel like if this was not brought to attention, then it was still gonna be, kept under, on the low. So it means that there might be a possibility of a lot more prisoners held based on a suspicion in Zimbabwe, but we'll just wait on reports to, just point based on that.
Embassies. So we are assured that this is happening, that the processing of the release of these particular immigrants is done. But like I said, they will, it's a consistent issue. These ones will come out, some more will come in, and until we maybe will solve the immigration issue, but also create that the immigration authorities in Zimbabwe established immigration holding
So basically, what she's trying to
like
say is
stations
that
that are
they need to have
people should not be
a facility that will, accommodate them rather than putting them to prison. So she's saying that that's still in the works.
in prison. They are not, they are not, in terms of the law, they are not awaiting trial because they are not being charged with a criminal offense per se, but they've come into the country in a manner that appears to be, for all intents and purposes, illegal.
Yeah.
She mentions this quite a lot, and it's quite an interesting fact that I keep pointing it out again and again, for the fact that as long as it looks like you are an illegal immigrant, then they are gonna imprison you. Now we know that South Africa is a country of open borders, open hearts, and it has a lot of open loopholes, which means that people can easily enter the country, people can easily go out. We've seen a lot of videos on social media, we've seen a lot of footages being put out which shows us the borders that are supposed to be stopping immigration, and majority of them is basically just like it's easy for anybody to just walk in, and they're not secure 24/7. And I feel like at this point people know that this is where people come into the country. We know that there are a lot of illegal immigrants, and it's still happening. But for the fact that South Africa is a bit of not a bit, it's a very big corrupt country. There's a lot of corruption in South Africa, and as much as you can be able to put money on the table, then you can practically get away with anything. So in Zimbabwe, illegal entry can land you behind bars for months while they still investigate. You understand? It lands you in prison while they investigate, and it's not like you've been charged just yet. They put you in prison just to investigate if you are into the country illegally or not, and that's all based off what an immigration officer thinks. If they look at me and they feel like this one might be here illegally, they have the right to put me in prison while they investigate. So in South Africa, you might get a warning. Like I said, as long as you have money and then you can put money on the table, then you might get away with it. Sometimes you might be deported, and deportation doesn't mean that the problem has been solved like permanently, because if you are deported, then you can simply just come in again next time illegally. You understand? So I feel like there needs to be some measures. I don't know how. So South Africa has a population of about 64 million people, and of that, over 2.5 million are foreign nationals, and that's about 1 in every 25 people. But here's the problem. Almost half of these immigrants are from Zimbabwe. The rest are from Mozambique, Lesotho, and other countries. I'm mentioning these three countries because these are the top three countries that has, immigrants in South Africa. But the problem is that we don't even know the number of the ones that are here illegally, and that's undocumented. Usually people, they have been cases whereby estimates were around 500,000. There have been cases whereby estimates were around 6 million. There has been even one bold claim that said that there are over 15 million undocumented foreign nationals. You understand? So that big number makes nearly a quarter of the whole country, which means that a quarter of South Africa is probably made up of foreign nationals. And among those foreign nationals, there are those who are here legally and there are those who are here illegally in South Africa. So like that makes South Africa, a hub of immigration basically, because probably people see that South Africa has a lot of opportunities, the opportunities that we South Africans find it hard to, get access to. No one really knows the real number of the illegal immigrants in the country, and that's because South Africa really doesn't take this whole matter seriously, and they're not trying to, combat it. In most cases, we have seen cases whereby Zimbabweans even said that if we feel like they should stay in Zimbabwe, then we should go to Zimbabwe. There's been that whole thing that was happening on the news. We have seen people protest. They are right to protest, but the fight is never with people who are in the country legally. That has never been the case. The fight has always been about illegal immigrants in the country. But even so, there has always been, protests whereby people fight and say that you guys are being xenophobic. We remember South Africa was labeled as a xenophobic nation for quite a long time, but that was mainly because people were like beating Zimbabweans, most of them who were found committing crime. And if you were to do the same thing in Zimbabwe, if you were to commit a crime and do whatever in Zimbabwe or in any other country, you can get to, they might imprison you for life, and they might go as extreme as, giving you a death sentence. So let us look at the world. In the United States, there's a Venezuelan migrant named Jose Ibarra who is saving life for a violent crime after entering illegally. In China, a Canadian man caught smuggling drugs got a death sentence. Now, I want to make an example of this. How many Nigerians in South Africa have been caught dealing drugs, and some of them are in the country illegally? There was an issue which was raised by the Sizokutwala episode, which showed us that there is a lady who sells passports and does papers for these illegal immigrants, and that person was a South African lady. Like I said, if you have money, then you can get access to anything in South Africa. But that's not what's happening in other countries, and that's definitely not what's happening in Zimbabwe or Nigeria. You can never go to another country, deal drugs, and then survive. There was an incident of a lady who was also given a death sentence for entering with drugs. I think it was in Ethiopia or something. But how many Ethiopians are in South Africa as we speak, and how many of them have been caught creating counterfeit goods? How many of them have been caught, selling fake goods in the country? But there has never been even a life imprisonment for any of those. We never had the end of it. We just see it, trending, being spoken about, and at the end of the day, that's it. It just goes away, and the next day we will see yet another one opening a shop on the same spot, selling the same products. So I feel like South Africa is just taking this, very lightly. In Indonesia, they held a Filipina maid, on death row for years. Also in Greece, smugglers or undocumented immigrants, like migrants. If you are undocumented in Greece, you face life imprisonment. They don't talk, they don't give you a lot of options. They don't listen to your story a lot. If you are illegally in the country, they give you life imprisonment. If South Africa followed the same route and, for an example, gave life imprisonment to illegal immigration, because that's basically an international crime, but South Africa is kind of too lenient on crime, unless that crime is like trending or is on social media. That's where now we will see that South Africa is active, and then they are trying to combat these issues. But if it's not on social media, then South Africa is too lenient. There's bribes, there's whatever. We've seen a lot of dockets going missing. People just, roam free because of money. Basically, as long as they can bribe somebody within the system, then they are good to go. So I feel like South Africa should really take an example based on these countries, because these countries, big economic powers like the United States, like Canada, so they should they should just look at those countries and just learn what helps them. So in South Africa, you can walk across the border, you can dodge Home Affairs or pay somebody within Home Affairs and start a new life in the shadows. You understand? It's very easy to just start a life in South Africa. We have a lot of people doing that. You won't face jail, and this they won't even take your fingerprints to just like, have that record and say that this person is an illegal immigrant if we ever we find you again in the country, so and so. So in South Africa, it's very easy to just cross the border and just start a life. There are people who have started families in South Africa. They came illegally, and if you ask them, they'll tell you that they are South Africans. And there's definitely nothing that we can do about it if the government is not trying to, combat this whole thing. Other nations can protect their borders. Why can't South Africa like find a way to protect their borders? You hear now that there's a joint operation between Zimbabwe and South Africa, and it's not to protect South Africa and to stop Zimbabweans from entering the country. I feel like it was initiated to stop South Africans from entering Zimbabwe illegally. You understand? As much as I still don't understand why a person would enter another country, especially a South African moving to Zimbabwe, but I still don't understand because we have a lot of Zimbabweans running away from Zimbabwe and coming to South Africa. And yet, surprisingly, there are South Africans who are crossing the border to go to Zimbabwe. So that's the situation that's happening right now. I feel like this could be a wake-up call for us as South Africans or for our government, because like I said, we don't have the power to do anything if the government doesn't. I hope this is a wake-up call for South Africa to kind of take this illegal immigration seriously. But I feel like as much as there's still corruption, there's still bribes, this is still a long fight. Let me know what are your thoughts in the comment section. Till next time, peace.